old memories back.
Oh, yeah, The Long Good Friday.
Indeed.
One of the most brilliant gangster films of all time.
Yes.
Thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Or maybe now that we've been examining The Godfather, you would say, was it really a gangster film or was it something else?
Yeah, was it something else? I think it was the big screen debut for Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
That's her first leading role, really.
Was it?
As girlfriend to Bob Hoskins.
Yeah. I don't know, but I mean, certainly as a gangster's mole, maybe, but I mean, she'd been around before that, hadn't she?
No, not much. And of course, the eyes in the mirror in the Jaguar in the very last scene were those that belonged to Pierce Brosnan, who later became James Bond, of course.
Bond.
Yeah.
Andy says this, and he's got a picture as well. The Hatton Garden robbers got nicked because one of the guys drove his own fastback Merc on day 2 of the effort.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
and there it is, a picture of it there, the white one.
That's right, trapped by a CCTV camera. And in fact, when I get round to telling you all about Line of Duty, so much of your movement in this country, it's illustrated through all these cop shows, right?
Yes.
Are traceable on cameras in this country. We've got more cameras in this country than anywhere else in the world.
That's true.
And they can track a car they can track a car from London to Manchester easily.
Well, do you know, I wanted to ask you about this sign that I saw on the A21.
Oh, yes.
Which is a sign that read something. It was like a yellow and black sign, right? So it was black writing on a yellow background.
Okay.
Police white line cameras. Now, what does that mean to you?
A white line camera?
Yeah, or white line video or something like that.
I don't know.
I assumed that it meant that they were filming parts of the road, because it's stretches of the road which are sort of rural, you would say. Yeah. But they've got, you know, those roads where they've got in the middle, they've got the dotted white line.
Yes.
But in the middle of the dotted white line, there's also, you know, further white lines, like sort of chevron. I wonder if it means that they're filming to see whether people are overtaking when they're not meant to be. Don't
know.
But I don't know what it meant.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
Because I didn't see any cameras on the road. It's not normally a stretch of road that's got cameras on it.
I think more interestingly, David, our producer, told us about a sign that's appeared very near to where I told you old Buster Edwards had his flower stall, right?
Yeah.
And it's a sign which is telling people, not to give beggars money.
That's right. Please don't give money to beggars.
Yeah, a big electronic sign, apparently.
Yeah, right.
Now, just to paint the picture here, that's a stretch of road which has got at least 3 mini supermarkets.
It has.
Tesco, Sainsbury's and another one.
And an M&S, I think.
Is it an M&S? Yeah, I think you're right.
Funnily enough, it's not the place where you got a parking ticket because you parked on the wrong side of the bus stop.
Yeah, that's right, but it's also a place where one night, which was quite shocking, I went in, I stopped there on the way home, so it would be about, 4:15 a.m.
Yes.
So I went in there and got a loaf of bread.
Oh, yeah.
And some sausages, because I fancied sausage butties for breakfast.
Sausage butties, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it's the sort of place you always, if you've got a fancy for something at that time of the morning, that's where you go and buy it.
That's right. So I come out, and then a lout, a sort of a low-life, filthy, scumbag human being lout, was loitering in a shop window. And I thought, I'll keep my eye on him. And as I clicked my clicker to open the door, but I was standing right by the door, he sprinted across the pavement and got in the car before me.
Into your car?
Into the passenger door,
No.
Yeah, he did,
You didn't tell me this.
I know, I don't know why.
Happen?
Oh, about a year ago.
Right.
Yeah, about a year ago.
He got in your car?
He got in my car. And I opened the door and I said, hey, and I you never know, this guy's got a knife.
You're on the driver's side?
I'm on the driver's side.
Okay.
And I used really foul language, and went mad.
Right.
And
did you not go round? Did you go round and open the door and tell him to get out, or what?
No, because he'd got in but not closed the door.
Oh, I see.
So I got in and I started flailing my arms around, and said, wait, and all this kind of stuff.
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, he was off his rocker.
Right.
But he just tumbled himself back out again and ran off. Yeah, so, I mean...
But did he not leave the door open?
He did leave the door open.
So you had to get out and shut it, or did you reach across?
No, you can't reach across. It's too wide. I then had to go round and shut it. But the first thing I did was inspect the seat.
Right.
To make sure this filthy
and
scumbag...
soiled it.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't have sort of, like gin stains on his coat or something.
This is why it's better to have a car where when you click the door, only the driver's door opens.
Well, that's right.
Rather than every other door.
That is right, yeah.
Which is what mine does.
Yeah,
if
that's
I click my driver's door open, if I need to open a passenger door, I have to click it twice.
Yes.
So somebody couldn't do that.
No, that's good. Except that I think what happened in mine is, I think it does that until you open your door, and that opens the other door. You'll freeze the other door anyway, you know. But no, so that's not a nice part of the world. It's at the back of Waterloo Station, but I didn't know it had got that bad.
I think it is pretty bad around there.
Yeah, we've got to keep an eye on it.
Because, of course, and probably the reason for the sign is that most of the guys who are begging there are what you might call professional beggars.
Yeah.
You know, they're not people that are in need necessarily of sandwiches.
No, that's
if
true.
If you try and give them food, they don't want it. Yeah. They only want your money.
Yes, that's right. You know but, of course, I'm very reluctant to help down and out on the streets anymore. Since that time when I did help a chap, by not giving him money, but by buying cigarettes and food.
You bought him fish and chips, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And all I got was
and then you got
terrible criticism
on Twitter because you were showing off.
I wasn't showing
why did you
off.
have to take a picture of it?
I didn't. I was trying to say was, I was saying, look, you can help people on the streets, but you don't have to lavish great amounts of money on them.
Right.
Try this. You know, the guy smokes, so here's a pack of cigarettes. The guy's hungry, here's some fish and chips. This is the way you might want to approach our homeless problem in this country. I was trying to be instructive.
Really?
And I was trying to be helpful. And also I got a load of abuse saying, oh, you're taking advantage of a down and out. You know,
well, I mean,
I wasn't taking advantage at all.
Well, you could have done it without telling anyone, couldn't you?
Well, no, because the whole idea is that, look, if the old Portmeister can do it, we should all do it. You know, I lead from the front all the time.
How about this?
Yeah.
From Peter, who's casting some aspersions on you as a criminal mastermind. He says, as usual, Porky bases his knowledge on the very limited amount of bad films that he's seen. He's more Fredo than Don Corleone.
No, that's very nice, isn't it? Old
I know
Fredo.
what you did.
I know what you did.
Yeah.
Now, I want to read you a letter in the Thunderer today.
Oh, yeah.
Which was sent to me in a tweet by, an adoring fan, so to speak.
An adoring fan?
Yeah.
Are you sure that's how you wish to portray them?
Eh?
Are you sure that's how you wish to portray them? An adoring fan?
Well, somebody who clearly a follower of the show, put it that way, okay?
Right. This is to the Times.
This is a letter written to the Times, which I took a photograph of and tweeted to me.
Right.
Now, the Times did a big feature earlier this week about people who've got to 50 and are still single, mostly women, who now have great careers and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But they didn't concentrate on men. Right. So a chap called Stephen Brown, who is a resident of Leeds, writes to the Times and he says this. Dear Sir, apropos your report, 50 and still single, blame your parents. So the whole theme of the feature, which I saw, was that, you've been so dominated by your parents all your life that you weren't able to...
Well, you're following in their footsteps.
Yeah, following their footsteps. You weren't able to establish your own identity and all that kind of stuff. So it says, 50 and still single, blame your parents.
Yeah.
May I just tell you about my own situation? I am male, I'm 64, I've never been married or cohabited, and I am completely heterosexual.
Yeah.
My father was 19 years older than my mother,
right,
and they were very happily married for 42 years until my father's death. I simply have not found the right person who I wanted to marry.
Yeah.
My late mother used to say that I was too particular and too fussy with my girlfriends.
Yeah.
She may have been right, but I never found the right person, although I have not yet given up hope.
Right.
Stephen Brown from Leeds.
Well, good luck to you, Mr. Brown.
Well, what I'm saying is, that's what I've tried to explain to you over the years.
What's that?
That I would not get forced into a marriage I didn't want to be involved in just to conform with society's view of the nuclear couple, the nuclear family.
Do you think that's what everybody else does?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people do.
I think a lot of people think they need to be married.
That's what I'm saying.
I think a lot of people feel the need to be married to have children.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to have children.
Yes.
I suspect a lot more women than men want to have children. Because
maybe.
Men, I don't think, generally speaking, think about that kind of thing.
Yeah, they don't have, the maternal instinct because they're paternal.
Not really. I'm almost slightly suspicious of any man who says, I really want to have children.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It's not generally speaking what drives men, is it?
Yeah, no, I agree.
No, I think that had you been less driven by your career, you might have ended up living with women more than you did.
I might have done.
But I mean, the fact is you were always driven by your career.
Yeah, but not only that,
so you weren't on the lookout for a woman, really, were you? I mean, all the women that you ended up being with kind of came to you as a result of your career.
Yes, that's right.
You didn't actually physically go and try and find a woman.
No, but the crucial factor with me is I've never loved a woman enough to want to marry her.
Well, you never loved anyone more than you love yourself, have you?
No. You see, you're being trite there. I'm trying to be serious here.
Why are you trying to be serious?
Because I'm trying to,
What's happened to you?
Open up as an open book and all that kind of stuff. And the point is, what I'm telling you is.
Yes.
Millions of men have married women they didn't love because they thought, hang on, I'm getting to such an age now, or society's putting pressure on me, or all my friends are married, so I should be.
Some families put pressure on people.
Families put pressure on you and in certain situations.
I mean, all right, if you're being serious, let me ask you a serious question. I mean, have you never had pressure put on you by your parents before you saying, "Are you ever going to provide us with any grandchildren?"
Never.
They never did that.
Never.
Because a lot of people I know have had pressure from their parents to say, when are you going to provide us with some grandchildren?
Yeah, sure. Well, my sister has 2 children. They're grandchildren to my mother, who's my
So that may have
parent.
taken a bit of the pressure off you.
Taken the pressure off. But people have said, isn't it odd that, you got to your age and never got married? I think it's very odd that society doesn't look at the other side of the coin, which is, but millions of people get married because it just suits...
And for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly. It just suits their social standing, I want to get married because I want to buy a house and I need somebody to live in it with and, maybe have children. Yeah. And that's completely the wrong reasons because that marriage... I keep saying, has a great possibility of ending up as a broken marriage with all the social problems that brings to the people in concern, the children, the wife and all that. If you don't want to get married, I don't feel that you should have to just say, look, I better conform to society's rules and get married here because people might think I'm odd that I live in this big house but I live on my own.
But you've also been fortunate, I suppose, in the sense that you could choose that lifestyle because you've got enough wherewithal, you've had a reasonably interesting job, you haven't had to live in a community of people who have all been the same.
It's true. It's true.
So you've been able to make that choice.
It's true, and I've never, and I'm talking really now more about women than men, I've never sought a partner in life as part of my financial structure.
No.
If you see what I mean.
No.
Because without a shadow of a doubt, 2 people can live cheaper than one. If you're...
Well, I mean...
can.
If both of them are working, you certainly can do better, I suppose.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, if 2 people get together, they only need one house. Whereas if you've got 2 single people who've got 2 separate houses...
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened to loads of people. 2 young people meet, they've each got a flat.
Yeah.
They say, look, we don't need 2 flats now. Flog that one, that'll give us something to live on. We'll buy a bigger flat.
There's some truth to that.
So 2 people can live cheaper than one.
Yeah.
So some people conform to society's rules to become a member of a couple for that reason alone.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, that was a very fascinating insight into your world.
Well,
I apologise for being trite.
No, but that's thanks to Mr. Stephen Brown of Leeds, who wrote to the Times to explain his position. Right. And he's a lot older than me, by the way. He's 64.
Not much older than you.
He's 64, and he says, I haven't given up hope. So when I said I discontinued the First Mrs. Parry list 2 years ago, because I felt that it was a stage of life now when I shouldn't.
Kick it off again?
Well, who knows?
Really?
Who knows? The FMP...
I'm getting very worried about you.
The FMP could make a revival.
I'm getting very worried about you. There's something happening to you.
No?
I don't know what it is.
No, it's not. Now then, do you recognise the name, because I didn't, Jin Kim?
Jin Kim?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you who she is, because obviously 38 years of age, right? And a child prodigy violinist.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a fantastic story knocking around. She's written a short sort of book.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about losing her violin. And it's an amazing story because it was worse than losing her lover, her husband, her boyfriend, her mother, her father. It's the worst thing.
So she's an older woman now?
No, she's 38 now.
Oh, that's what I mean. So she's not a child prodigy still, I mean.
No, but she was a child prodigy when she was sort of 12. And then she got by 11, she'd won an international music competition, started playing professionally all over the world.
Yeah.
At 15, she became the youngest person to be awarded a foundation scholarship at the Royal College of Music. The one thing she was looking for all her life was a violin with which she could feel at one. You know what I mean? Her and the violin were like an extension of her arm. So at 21... she had known for some time that to reach the very top, she needed a top-class instrument. And she went to a violin dealer because she was a prodigy and a world-famous violinist and said, can you find me a violin? So, anyway, after a few weeks, he rings her and says, I found you a Stradivarius. I mean, can you believe this? Because I couldn't. The violin she played to huge halls in Berlin and, Australia, Berlin... The violin she used, the Stradivarius, was made in 1696.
Yes.
Now, I just can't believe that something made in 1696 is still not fallen to bits and still resonates the sort of sound that you need.
Well, I guess
it's amazing.
If it's a particularly well-made instrument, I mean, one of the reasons they're worth so much money is because they're so brilliantly made.
Yeah, but Mike, that 1700 till now is 317 years.
Yeah.
Plus 4, it's 321 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, imagine if you were trying to drive a 321-year-old car.
But people
it wouldn't work.
Yeah, but people live in houses that are that old, don't they?
Yeah, I know, but a house just stands there. A violin is a moving instrument.
But it's a piece of musical. It's something you make music from.
Yeah,
there's no you could have a piano that was that old as long as it's maintained. Why wouldn't it work?
To me, it was astonishing. I just couldn't believe that old Stradivarius was around 300 years ago.
Well, he's not around now. So
no,
for example, you can't make a Stradivarius now.
Well, somebody surely can imitate how to make a Stradivarius.
But it's not a Stradivarius.
Anyway, this is such a great story, right?
Right.
So she says it was fantastic, and she needed it so much that she sold her house to raise the £450,000 the violin cost.
Right.
I mean, this is an incredible story. Imagine you and I thinking, I tell you what, look, we're going to write a new book. We need a proper pen.
Yeah.
I'm going to flog my house to buy a pen to write a book, okay?
Yes, right.
And the pen will cost me...
I suppose the difference between a Stradivarius and other violins, though, is it sounds so much better.
Yeah, well...
That's what they say.
I couldn't tell the difference between a Stradivarius and a £5 violin because I don't have a musical ear.
Okay.
Anyway, so she gets this £450,000 violin, okay? She said, it was my priority. Nothing else mattered in life. It was my home. In a sense, it was my life. Wherever I was in the world, it was with me. The relationship you have with an instrument like that is difficult to explain. But every time you play it absorbs a part of you. All your emotion seeps in.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is...
Well, that's why she's willing to pay that kind of money for it. Obviously, it's worth more to her, really, than any house.
That's right. So a few years later, the violin is worth £1.2 million.
Right.
The bows that she uses to play the violin alone are worth £65,000.
Okay,
they're carried in a separate case.
And are they made more in a more modern time, or are they also that old?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they came with the violin.
Yeah.
Anyway, she and her boyfriend Matt, a cellist, who she'd been seeing for a few months, were travelling to Manchester, and they were at Euston Station.
Yeah.
Now, amazingly, because she looked after a violin better than a woman looks after a handbag, in the sense that she wrapped the cord around her wrist.
You?
Yeah, well, it's worth that much.
£1 million worth.
She passes it across the table to her boyfriend at Euston Station when they're on their way to Manchester.
Right.
And she said it was the first time in her life that she hadn't had it next to her, but the cafe they're in was so crowded.
Yeah.
She looked up the next second, it had gone.
No.
And CCTV showed that a marauding gang of probably... itinerant, people who snatch phones off tables and all that kind of stuff, had just taken it. And her life...
They hadn't been stalking her and they didn't know what they were taking.
No, they came in. They were opportunist thieves,
Isn't
robbers.
that horrendous?
So, anyway, both were unaware that three men were looking around.
Yeah.
Hunting for what the police call prey, i.e. a phone, a bag or something like that.
Right.
CCTV footage later showed the men training their focus on another unsuspecting woman's handbag, but then they noticed the violin, changed their minds. Neither Min nor her boyfriend Matt saw the hand snaking out to take the violin case.
Wow.
Although it was right beside Matt, the pair, tired and distracted, did not notice.
When did this happen?
This happened, this is part of the story, 4 years ago.
Because I think I remember the story, is the reason I'm asking.
Well, no, I remember one of a violinist woman who lost one on the tube, and she got it back. She got it back within a couple of days. But anyway, she suddenly looked up, and I remember shouting, "It's gone, it's gone, it's gone." Now,
you'd just die of fright, wouldn't you?
Well, she has compared this, at the moment, we're all, observing the Madeleine McCann 10th anniversary and all that. She has actually said it's as bad as that for her, you know what I mean?
Sure it is.
And I mean, perhaps that's a bit tasteless to compare a violin with a child, with a child like Madeleine.
I think people will know what you mean.
But she said people were trying to calm me down. She said I completely lost it. For the next 3 years, she struggled to cope with the loss.
Right.
Her relationship with her boyfriend, Matt, disintegrated. Was that because she blamed him? She said, I didn't know what to think. Blame is too loaded a word.
Yeah.
At the time, I shouted at him, how could you? As though they'd given her child away, you know what I mean?
Right.
He was in charge of my violin. It was stolen under his care. Her management team arranged for other top-class violins to be made available to her, but she could not play them. Someone meaning to be kind did say, look, yours is not the only violin in the world, Min, but to me it was the only violin in the world. If it had been my child, would people have expected me to accept another child in its place? That's how important it was to me.
And presumably it was insured, but you can't really replace something like that, can you?
She had only got it insured up to £750,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you have to constantly review it and all that.
Right.
Anyway, unable to perform, her record deal ended. She simply could not play anything because her violin had gone.
Right.
So she stopped playing.
Yeah.
So her record deal ended. She couldn't sleep or eat. The dark spectre of anorexia, which she, flirted with as a child prodigy, returned.
Right.
She said, whenever I'm stressed, I stop eating. It's not a control thing, it's anxiety, but because I'm an adult now, I can force myself to have something light, but as a child, I was overwhelmed with it, and the fear of it came back. Anyway, her whole life fell to pieces, okay?
Yeah.
Completely fell to pieces, but the happy end of the story is she got it back.
She found it.
4 years later.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
Well, where did it turn up?
Here we go. Sorry, it was a year after she lost it, she got it back. It was 4 years ago, and 3 years ago she got it back. A year after the theft, justice was officially served. Police realised they were dealing with an opportunistic attack rather than a targeted theft. They thought originally somebody had been following her.
Well, you would think that, wouldn't you? You would think they must have known what they were going for.
Yeah. A guy called John Morn, 30, serial offender with 123 previous offences to his name. He was jailed for 4.5 years for stealing the violin.
Right.
His tour comes 16 years. Where was the instrument, though? That was still a mystery. 3 years after a Stradivarius had been stolen, so sorry, I was right, it was 3 years after.
Right.
She consulted a medium to locate it. In her words, moved into the acceptance part of it. The insurance company had paid out, but she had to pay capital gains tax on the $750,000.
That's mad,
leaving her with only a fraction of what the violin was worth.
Why would you have to pay capital gains tax on that?
Well, because it's such a valuable property, it had increased so much in the time she had it. In July 2013, just after she started to play again with another instrument, and that taken her 4 years to get to there, the police produced a breakthrough. She doesn't know the details, but the violin was found in storage in a warehouse in the Midlands.
That's incredible. Not because you got any help from the medium then.
Well, who knows? Who knows if the medium was able to tip anybody off to go and look at it,
Right.
But, I mean, the most extraordinary thing...
So she's got it back?
Yeah.
And she's playing it again?
No, it's... Sorry. Hang on.
She hasn't got it back?
No. The insurers then took possession of her violin.
Right.
Because the insurance money had been paid out.
Right. So she still hasn't got it?
No, she didn't get it back. Her desperate battle to raise the money to buy it back came to nothing. The violin was sold at auction for £1.3 million, and she didn't have the money to buy it.
Blimey.
It now belongs to a collector.
That's shocking.
What a
terrible story.
What a shocking story.
Yeah. Well, I'll just never play an instrument that's worth that much money, I suppose.
Exactly.
Is the moral of that story.
Exactly.
Incredible.
The casual listener now, music expert, say she still plays like an angel.
Yeah.
She shakes her head and says, no, I don't. I'll never be the same again.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Incredible story.
Amazing.
Coming up next, we'll be telling you what might also drive you to drink and why it's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
We're talking to Dr. Gordon Shepard. Now, let's talk to Dr. Gordon Shepard, because he's got a very fascinating tale to tell us. He's been doing a study over in Yale at the Department of Neuroscience in the Yale School of Medicine about how good wine is for you. Now, you and I would probably have to admit that we like the odd glass of wine.
Yes.
And over the course of the last probably 50 years...
I've probably drunk
40 years,
enough
maybe,
to fill the English Channel.
And we've probably had quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
And amazingly, it doesn't seem to have affected us too much.
No.
So let's talk to Dr. Shepard and find out whether we've been doing the right thing. Dr. Shepard, very good morning to you. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, I'd have to say, of all of the pieces of research in all the land, you know, I'm very glad that you've done this one. Tell us about why you did it and what is so good about wine and the brain.
Well, I first gathered the latest results about how we create the flavor of food. And then my editor said, well, why don't you do one for wine? So wine is an example of how we create flavor from what's in our mouth.
Okay.
And you may think the flavor is all coming from your mouth, but in fact, a lot of it is coming from your nose. But you're completely unconscious of it. Nature is tricking you into thinking it's coming from your mouth, and it's all taste, but in fact, most of it is coming from your nose, and that is smell.
Yeah, and also doesn't it come from your eyes as well, Doc? Because when you look at, for instance, when I look at a glass of French red wine, I know exactly what that has smelt like in the past, and because I'm looking at it, even if I can't actually smell its aroma at the time, I know what in my brain what I'm expecting to taste.
Well, you ought to go into science because you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
So that some people say that we eat with our eyes, and that's what you're describing.
Yeah, no.
My mother used to say my eyes were bigger than my stomach.
Well, they always say that, don't they?
Yeah, which is not quite the same thing. But I mean,
that's another way of thinking about it.
Yeah. What I'm interested in as well, though, Dr. Shepard, is the benefits of drinking wine as opposed to the benefits, perhaps, of drinking other things. It says that the brain creates flavours in the same way that it creates colour, but does it also give you a sort of a tip, if you like, as to what is better for you, if you know what I mean?
Well, I can't comment on that. That's not the kind of research I do. I'm interested in how we create flavor and how flavor then can lead us into healthy eating habits and drinking habits or unhealthy drinking habits. And that can have then disastrous consequences for Alzheimer's disease or diabetes or obesity. So flavor really is something that can play an enormous role in our lives without us fully realizing it.
Yeah, okay, fine. But also in your research, Doc, you say that, a drinker's emotional connection to the wine in their glass has a huge impact on them. Why don't we have some sort of trigger in our brain with all these signals which are telling us what to drink and how it's going to taste? Why don't we have a signal in our brain which tells us when we've had enough to drink, and that would stop people from making fools of themselves by over-imbibing?
Oh, the signals are always there, but what matters in our behavior is the balance of the signals. Some of them are saying, let me have more and more of that, and other signals are telling you less and less of that, and it depends on who you're listening to.
And is there any difference in the different sort of receptors of the brain that people individually have? Because obviously we know people over the years, we both used to work in newspapers, and an awful lot of heavy drinking did go on. Some people could drink an awful lot and become alcoholics. Other people could drink an awful lot and not become alcoholics. Is there anything in your research that tells you how that works?
No, I don't work specifically on that. But what I do work on is the sensory signals that tell us what kind of smell that we're experiencing or creating. And here we know that there are several hundred different kinds of receptors in our nose, and that's a lot. We only have 3 receptors for color, but we have 300 or 400 for smells.
Okay.
And so that means that probably each of us is slightly different in the kinds of smell receptors we have. And while much of it's the same, there are enough individual differences, so that explains why we have different preferences.
I see, fine. Now, Doc, I understand that you are not a huge fan of wine tasting, i.e. taking a mouthful, going the old swoosh, 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 and then spitting it into a bucket. You feel that doesn't have a very beneficial effect on anybody?
No, I think what I said was that you have to be sure to expose yourself enough to the wine so that you're getting the full effect on the effect in the of smell as you breathe out with the wine, either in your mouth or letting a little bit get into your throat so you get the full effect on your nose when you breathe out.
Yeah, so it's, well, bearing in mind that we have specialist doctors called ear, nose and throat experts, all that is interconnected, isn't it? The smell,
it's all interconnected.
The taste, the going down the throat. So, I'm liking your advice. Never spit wine out. Always make sure you put it into your mouth and let it go down your throat, because you can't get the...
Well, no, I didn't say that.
Right.
I said wine in, but don't spit it right out, because you won't get enough of... Remember, the taste is not coming from your mouth. The taste of that wine, most of it is coming when you breathe out, with the wine at the back of your mouth and a little bit coming into your throat.
Yeah.
So let a little bit come into your throat so that you get the full effect on your sense of smell.
Yeah, but hang on. Most people who drink wine don't spit it out. They drink it, don't they? It goes down their throat and into their stomach. I mean, you wouldn't advocate that people should change their wine habits by just
tasting? Well,
just tasting it and spitting it out, would you?
I was talking about if you're at a wine tasting.
Oh, I see.
Where you've got to taste 10 or 20 or 30.
Oh, okay, yeah,
because it can be a bit dangerous if you start swallowing all of that,
Yeah,
because you start to get a little bit too carried away. So what has this study taught us, Dr. Shepard, about what we didn't know before, in terms of, what were you hoping to discover, and did you discover anything that you weren't expecting to discover?
No, I think I went into it realizing that the internal smell has a lot to do with the flavor that we create. And the more I studied it, the more convinced I was that that's something that we're totally unaware of, and yet is one of the main things that determines the flavors of what we eat or what we drink.
Yeah, okay. What do you think about saddos who never taste wine, Doc? These people who think that wine is the devil's buttermilk.
Well, it is believed to have some health benefits.
Yep.
And so, as with most things, moderation leads to happiness in all things.
Indeed. Moderation. I agree with that.
Moderation in moderation.
Moderation in moderation is the theme of this show.
It is very much. Dr. Gordon Shepard there
from
Yale University, from the School of Medicine. He is a good man.
Good man.
He was telling us some things.
Completely right.
He was telling us some things that I think we wanted to know.
Yeah.
He couldn't tell us everything we wanted to know, but never mind. I mean, it's a constant quest for information and knowledge on this show.
Indeed. As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's the problem?
That music can only mean one thing. It is, of course, time for Porky Vision. It is the same time every week. Some people say that it's the best TV review this side of Ulaanbaatar.
That's right.
Others are sometimes baffled by some of the things that you say.
You've got to get real and not be baffled. You know what I mean?
You have issued a previous warning earlier in the week to say that if you haven't seen Line of Duty by now, and especially the closing part of the show of it, then you won't want to listen to this because it will be too revealing.
Do you know what? Amazingly, before I saw the last episode of the current Line of Duty, I found in my Skybox, sort of library type thing, the last episode of the last Line of Duty show.
Really?
I don't know why. Somebody must have said to me, "Have you ever seen it?" I said, "No." And
had you not seen the previous series then?
No, I hadn't. And yet there were things in the last episode of the last series which connected to this one.
Right.
And that is that most of them end up with armed police smashing away into some house or some office or something like that.
Right.
And then, a great standoff between armed people, Right. But in this one, what was brilliant is that DCI Ros Huntley, who, of course, was played by the brilliant actress, Tandy.
Tandy.
Yeah. What's her name? Tandy what?
Tandy Newton.
Tandy Newton, that's the one, yes.
Former Bond girl.
Former Bond girl, that's right, yeah. Brilliantly. And the moment of the whole series is when she is sitting in a room actually being interrogated, by AC-12, that's Anti-Corruption 12, who have suspected from the start that she's been trying to frame a young, sort of mentally subnormal boy for a series of murders because she was being pressurised by the Assistant Chief Constable from above and saying, you've got to get results, and she had no qualms about framing this poor kid. She suddenly says, I wish to confess to the murder of the guy who was the forensics expert.
Oh, really?
In the first episode.
Right.
When she went round to his house and say, look, lay off my case, will you? You're producing too much forensic evidence.
Yeah.
And because he suspects she's framed the kid.
Right.
They start pushing each other in the kitchen. She gets pushed over.
Yeah.
He thinks he's killed her and he's going to cut her up. And she wakes up. Now, what I don't quite understand here, so basically that's the plot.
Yeah.
So from the start, she frames a kid for a series of murders committed by Balaclava Man.
Okay.
She says...
I've read about him.
She says he's Balaclava Man. The forensic expert, examining all the pictures, says... That can't be this kid cannot be Balaclava Man.
Right.
His physical presence does not
not the right shape.
Well, he does things like he's got more equipment than her.
Right.
And I can see his feet don't even match the footprint sizes of the attacker.
Right.
She says, how can you tell? We haven't got pictures of his feet. He says, I know, because I've been able to study body forms and all that kind of stuff. So she goes round to his house and says, I want you to lay off. He has got his own dark secrets. He has prostitutes around to his house and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
So there's a struggle.
There's a struggle. She gets pushed over.
Right.
He thinks she's dead.
Right.
Then the amazing twist at the end of that series is that just as he's about to take a circular sword and start cutting her up, her eyes open.
Yes.
And then the start of the next series is that he's dead and she's not.
Right.
But 3 of his fingers are missing.
But, I mean, it's odd as well that he would want to kill her, having just maybe caused her accidental death.
Well, that's unexplained.
Yeah.
That's unexplained. No, you mean chop her up.
Chop her up, I mean,
after...
I mean, rather than say, look, we had a struggle.
We had a struggle.
He's a police officer. Well, it's not my fault.
Who knows what dark secrets are about? Yeah. Because this is what is so interesting. She then she goes through the rest of the 6 episodes with a sore on her arm, which gets worse and worse and worse. Right. And in the end, I explained last week, she had her arm chopped off by surgeons because it turned out she got MRSA.
Yes.
But where did she get MRSA from? The guy that she killed, the forensic expert who was sitting astride her with a circular saw, she pushed the circular saw away, it's revealed, nicked his jugular vein, and he bled to death, okay? So
that would be a bit messy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but before he died, because he was a forensic expert, he scraped her skin with his fingers.
And is that how the cut came about?
Well, this is what is so interesting. She then cut those fingers off and took them away because she knew. But what he'd done is, this is a line which I find remarkable. He had inflicted upon her MRSA from his fingernails.
Yes.
And I know this sounds ridiculous, but MRSA lives in all our noses.
It does.
Right?
No, that's true. I mean, people say that it is all around us.
Right. Well, the only thing you can take from that is that for some unknown reason, he'd put his finger in his nose because he was a forensic expert, and then scraped her skin.
Right.
Deliberately.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
To
take some presence of mind, that. While you're having your fingers chopped off.
Well, no, his fingers hadn't been chopped off then. She'd slit his jugular.
Oh,
he was dying.
Well, even then.
Yeah, and he's thinking, well, no, because I remember seeing in some Columbo series when a guy got locked into a safe and died of lack of oxygen and all that.
Right.
The last thing he did was leave clues, as to who the killer was.
He wasn't bleeding to death, though,
No, he wasn't bleeding to death, but he was suffering from oxygen deprivation. Yes. So, but anyway, the point of the story is, this is how she got the wound, and she wouldn't go to the hospital because then they'd say, well, where'd you get that? And then she'd have to explain.
Yes.
So anyway, she covers up all...
She just said she scratched herself or something.
She said she scratched herself on brickwork.
Oh, yeah.
So they never treated it with anything except a bit of germline, you see. Right. So anyway, she's sitting there and she suddenly realises that the world is closing in on her through evidence which AC-12 have got against her, i.e. the movement of her car and all this kind of stuff.
And did nobody know that his last sort of movement was to go to her house, to visit her, before...
She went to his.
Oh, she went to his house.
She went to his. He was found on the floor of his own kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Right, okay.
Right.
So she realised... Now, this woman is so driven... that, she didn't want her career to end by being exposed as a criminal. So she then set up her own husband, Lee Ingleby's the actor, the guy who was in Inspector Morse.
Okay.
Bacchus. He played Bacchus in Inspector Morse.
Is he the one who's being called the most unlikely sort of sex symbol? Is he the same guy?
Yeah, I don't know.
He was a big piece in one of the papers the other day.
Oh, no. That is the head of AC-12.
Oh, okay.
A guy called Hastings.
That's another bloke.
Who's played by the actor Adrian Dunbar, okay?
Okay.
But, but she is so wicked now that she has actually called the police to arrest her husband, who she says is Balaclava Man.
Right.
And it wasn't her fault. They arrested the mentally subnormal boy, who by now has been cleared because they found out that body parts that were distributed by Balaclava Man, the killer, were distributed when he was in jail.
While he was in custody,
so he was left. So she's now framed her husband, who's a complete wimp and, crying in his cell, it wasn't me.
Yes.
And she's telling all her officers it was him. It's only, it's my fault, I was married to him, I should have noticed, But in fact, it wasn't. Meanwhile, she's having some sort of affair with the ACC. This is the man at the top. Now, some of the strange things that have happened here is that she then admits, I killed a forensic expert, right? Her venal boss is called Derek Hilton. This is the ACC. Right, played by an actor called Paul Higgins, right?
Yeah.
And the weirdest thing is, he has been aware of several setups within the whole of the police force that he controls. And we still don't know why, because she confesses, and she is then taken away with her one hand, one arm.
Right.
And then they go after him because she says that the pressure was put on her by the ACC.
Right.
But when they find the ACC,
yes,
he's put a gun to his head and blown his own brains out down near the yacht club.
All going a bit wrong, isn't it?
All going a bit wrong. But we have not yet been told why he did, although there was a suggestion he may have been involved in covering up very senior people from sort of paedophile charges and this sort of thing, which is very reminiscent of a real-life case that we've been reading about in London over the last 2 or 3 years involving people like, allegations against people like Cyril Smith and that sort of thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's all about that, whether he's been protecting the establishment at the top.
Stuff, yes.
Historic stuff, because even the government officials have been coming to him saying this must not get out under any circumstances.
Right.
And so using his senior power, he's been directing, anti-corruption people to the wrong people and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, okay.
But the one thing I don't quite understand, which is yet to be... Oh, and by the way, some new guy who was introduced into the squad just a couple of episodes again suddenly pulls a gun and tells everybody to stand back.
Right.
And everybody's thinking, you've gone mad. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And he says, you don't know half of it. You don't know. We think that the very senior guy has sent him into the squad as his own man and told him a pack of lies about all the rest being corrupt. So pull a gun on them. So it's all very complicated.
Right. So Balaclava Man, we still don't know who that is.
Yeah, we do. This is all explained.
Ah.
So anyway, what happens is there's then a raid on the police headquarters itself.
Right.
By 2 Balaclava men.
Right.
So there's more than one.
Right.
Balaclava man turns out not to be one person.
There's more than one of them.
There's more than one of them. There's a criminal network somewhere which is trying to manipulate establishment agencies, including the police, right?
Yes.
Who have got more than one Balaclava man. And so the Balaclava man that beat up a detective from AC-12... Inside...
Could have been one of many.
It could have been one of many.
Right.
And they blow one away. In the last series, I think it's Adrian Dunbar, who is the Hastings, the head of AC-12.
Well, he's the one that kills the Balaclava
I think he kills Balaclava Man with a very clever shot.
Yeah.
Because Balaclava Man is holding a gun to a hostage's head.
Okay.
But Hastings just picks up another gun... Yeah. Point it and bang. And
don't they do the old reveal, though, when they lift the balaclava up to see who it is?
It's an anonymous man. This is the point. He's not a character that we've known throughout the series, okay?
Right.
But the most amazing thing is, she confesses, yes, I did kill him. She said it was an accidental. And they all say, what? A forensic expert was sitting astride you with a circular saw.
Yeah.
She said, yeah, and he thought you were dead. She said, yes. He said, but he's a forensics expert. Yeah. She said...
And why was he trying to kill her? Surely that would be the question.
Why was he trying to cut her up? He thought he'd already killed her,
Well, yeah, why would he want to kill her in the first place, though?
Well, it was an accident. There was a pushing match in the kitchen, and she fell and banged her head.
Right.
But she then corrupted all the evidence of the blood in the kitchen and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But she said, I don't know. She said there is a state in which you can actually not have a pulse for 10 minutes but still be alive, you know what I mean? And she suddenly woke up. But what I don't understand is she confessed to accidentally killing him, but was then charged with manslaughter. Now...
Right. Well, that's kind of... follows, doesn't it?
No, because if you're lying on a kitchen floor and there's a bloke sitting astride you with a circuit saw about to cut you up, and you go push off and you literally push his hand away, and the saw then cuts his jugular.
Well, that's still manslaughter.
That's self-defence.
Well, no, it's manslaughter.
No, it's not. It's self-defence.
It's manslaughter
because he's trying to cut her up and therefore kill her.
Murder is a preordained. Killing
all right, well, hang on. So I just come over to you now, where you are. I knock you to the floor. I sit astride you, get a circular saw. I start thinking I'm going to cut you up. You wake up, punch me in the face. And I then cut my jugular. That's self-defence. That's not manslaughter.
Well, no, it's still manslaughter. The difference is that you didn't go out to kill me. You didn't plan to kill me.
I don't think
you killed me as a result of your actions. That's manslaughter.
I don't think so. Anyway, she then gets 10 years because they do captions at the end saying what happened to everybody, right? She gets 10 years, but the 10 years are for manslaughter and perverting the course of justice.
Yes.
My view is she would have got a lot more for perverting the course of justice because it was such a huge perversion of a police case, and she's, a very senior officer. And probably will only got 2 years for manslaughter because of the circumstances.
Maybe possibly.
Or something like that. We still don't know why the ACC blew his brains out. And some of the other officers in AC-12 were so shocked by it all that they went into
But we still don't know who the balaclava man or several balaclava men were.
They were just hired gunmen.
No.
They weren't even characters in the plot.
Okay.
They were sent out to do things by a criminal mastermind who was being protected by the ACC, who's blown his brains out.
So he is as yet unknown.
As yet unknown, and his motives as yet, but we think that what he had on the ACC was, you've been protecting establishment figures for years. I know. I've got you. I'm blackmailing you.
So will this come out in the next series?
Well,
then?
This is what you think.
Right.
But
so
brilliant series.
There's still a lot that we don't know then.
A lot we don't know.
So, in fact, you haven't really given too much away, apart from the fact
I've given away everything that's been on telly.
Have you?
And with my own theories about it, because, I've tied up a few loose tales, a few loose ends, which the script writers didn't,
No, but given the fact that it's not absolutely sorting everything out, that leaves plenty of room for manoeuvre, I would say.
Room for manoeuvre. The forensic expert was a guy called Tim Ifield, by the way.
Okay.
And it was brilliant. What I do notice in all the police series that we see now, and the other great programmes we're on this week is Little Boy Blue.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very hard to watch. The funeral at Liverpool Anglican Cathedral of Rhys Jones, which attracted thousands of people, carried up the church in an Everton coffin, in his Everton clothes and all that kind of, very, very hard to bear. But that too involved several incidents where armed police, there's a lot of armed police in television these days.
Well, there's a lot of armed police on
with
the streets.
with these short-barrelled machine guns, which they hold right up to their eye, you know what I mean? While another cop is smashing the doors down. That is happening more and more frequently in Britain. I'm telling you.
It's happening all the time. You see police officers in London an awful lot now with those kind of weapons. I'm rather glad about it, to be honest. That was Porky Vision.
Indeed.
If you haven't seen the end of the show, don't worry about it, because there's still plenty of questions left to be asked.
Certainly are. Yes.
There's an incredible story that we want to impart to the public out there.
Definitely.
And it's about an extremely lucky surfer who's been found by a Coast Guard helicopter after spending 32 hours in the sea off the coast of southwest Scotland. We've got Stuart Weir, our man in that neck of the woods, or our man in the rowing boat, if you like, to tell us all about it. Stuart, very good morning to you.
I've just launched the submarine, you're fine.
Incredible story, this. The Belfast Coast Guards have found this guy. He's been in the water since 11:30 on Sunday, right? He's suffering from hypothermia, but he was wearing a wetsuit, still clinging to his surfboard. Tell us about it.
Yeah, the surfer went missing on Sunday morning. He's a Scottish guy, Matthew Bryce is his name. He's from Glasgow. He's only 22. He went surfing on Sunday morning. So he's gone 9 o'clock, gone surfing, disappeared. Nobody's heard anything at all from him all day Sunday. In fact, our news desk had been alerted to this story, and at a point in time, you're actually thinking this is going to turn into some, tragedy and a fatality, and you're going to take, the story's going to take a not very nice twist. And all of a sudden, late on last night, it came through around about back of 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, maybe something like 20 to 9, that they'd actually found this guy. And at first, again, when the news actually came through, one or two of the guys in the newsroom actually thought when they'd found a body. But instead of that, they found this guy alive and kicking. Okay, he's suffering from hypothermia, but he hadn't let go of his board, and they found him bobbing up and down out at sea, something like 30 miles out off the coast.
Yeah. It's utterly amazing, Stu. Do you know if this was a windsurfing board or just an ordinary surfboard? I didn't think that people in Scotland actually went out surfing, if you know what I mean, Hawaii style. I thought they just took out these windsurf boards because the winds are so strong in that part of the world.
Yeah, no, this is an actual surfboard, because there are some fantastic surfing spots in and around Scotland and around the coast. But no, you're right to think that as well about the windsurfing.
Yeah.
One of my mates actually had a similar narrow escape many years ago, when he was out at sea and it went dark. It was like January or February, and because of the wind and the big waves, it was a good time to actually go sort of windsurfing, except he went in the wrong direction and got lost out at sea, and he could see the lights of the shore. He couldn't actually get in until the tide brought him in, and he crashed into what was the old swimming pool at Prestwick. He crashed into the wall there and split his head, but at least he survived.
Well, I mean, this guy must have been seeing the lights of Northern Ireland, mustn't he? He was 13 miles off the coast. I mean, you could see Northern Ireland on a clear night from Turnberry.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure whether I could actually see any lights where he was, but you have to think this is the guy you actually want to be doing your lottery numbers this weekend.
Yeah. Either that, or they might have thought he was a Brexiteer trying to escape to Northern Ireland. Eh?
Well, no, Northern Ireland's still in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah, but it doesn't matter, does it? You know, get off the mainland. Yeah, absolutely. But a quite remarkable story, Stu, just to explain to our millions of listeners. I mean, you know, you and I are used to covering stories which end in tragedy. And the chances of this coming up as a happy ending story are remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. One thing that I've picked up so far, Stu, is that this guy presumably is a very experienced surfer because he had on just about the best sort of insulated suit that anybody who's surfing at this time of the year can possibly acquire and wear.
Yeah, put it this way, it's not for fashion.
No, exactly.
As you were mentioning there, you know, do you surf round about the Scots coast? Yes, you can, but you do need the right equipment. And you know, and again, he had one of these, you know, fancy, almost like life suits on.
That's right.
To go out and to surf. But I mean, that just shows you, and you know, sort of slightly going off at a tangent here. There's a great, many things have been said and have been done to the Coast Guard service in the UK over the last couple of years, including, you know, a scaling down. But it just shows you actually, because of the Belfast Coast Guard and, you know, the Scottish services, what actually could put together to actually, you know, launch this rescue bid.
Sure.
And here's a young man who, you know, for want of a better description, was damn lucky.
Oh, very, very lucky.
You know, if I hadn't been for the diligence of the actual Coast Guard deciding, there's still a chance this guy might survive. They knew that he was kitted out, wearing his neoprene suit. They knew there was a, you know, even though he was in the water for a long time, and he was still, maybe if he was still attached to his board, there was still a chance that he might still be bobbing around in the ocean. And lo and behold, it's turned up trumps.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Incredible story. Well, listen, Stuart, really appreciate
thanks very much for
all about
helping
that.
us out there.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, it was off the coast of Campbelltown, which is near a place called Machrihanish. Now, I don't know much about Machrihanish, but there's an amazing plane that you can take, and I did this once. Where you take a plane from Glasgow, and you land it on the beach of Machrihanish. And you play golf on the most incredible links golf course, which is hardly ever anybody there.
And you had your golf clubs on board the plane to Machrihanish.
Yeah, it's the only place you can take your golf clubs on the plane. You get off, you walk onto the first tee, you put some money in a box, you play the 18 holes, get back on the plane, fly back.
There's nobody running the golf.
There's not really anybody there. There is a bit of a clubhouse, but there's hardly anybody.
Well, the plane lands on the beach.
Plane lands on the beach.
Well, is the sand solid enough to take an air?
Oh yeah, well, it's a tiny plane. It's like a little 4-man plane, you know.
Yeah, quite amazing.
6-man plane. It's great.
Is it anywhere near the Mull of Kintyre?
Well, it's not far because that's a bit further round. Mull of Kintyres are a bit further round.
And another place that I knew up there, because I used to work with the lady who came from there.
Stranraer, not far from Stranraer.
Port Patrick.
Port Patrick, yes.
Is it Port Patrick?
Not far from there. Same part of the world.
Her boyfriend was a fisherman.
This was the girl that you used to romance while her boyfriend was out risking his life in the high seas, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
And as a result of which, the girl from Port Patrick was actually the girl who helped me cheat in my journalism exams.
Oh, really?
Because I couldn't do shorthand because I wasn't dexterous enough. But she was very good at it.
Yeah.
So during the exam, I gerrymandered the seating in the examination room, so I was sitting opposite her.
How did you manage to do that?
Well, I just sort of shuffled the desk around, and that sort of stuff, and I sat opposite, and she pushed the transcription of the speech that we had to write down in shorthand and then transcribe under her typewriter, because we had typewriters in those days, and towards me, and I got it, and And that was it.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, so you make these kind of
cunning.
you make these kind of admissions, and then you wonder why the listening public actually make judgments about your particular views of life. BMW says that you'd be better off having a sheep in the studio. It would do better predictions than Mike Parry.
That's very
nice,
and
Scott says Porky hasn't even said good morning to you yet, MG. He's such a rude man. I remember him attacking you before for not saying it.
Yeah. Why should I? Why should I say good morning to you when you launched the show on an anti-Mike Parry
Mike Parry at all.
issue?
No, it was simply a statement of the facts of the weekend's doings. Julia, your friend from the Wetherspoons in Birmingham, says, MG, I think you're being very harsh to Porky. Give him a break.
Exactly.
She's your final sort of, holding position. She's the only person out there on Twitter who actually thinks that you're getting a hard time here.
Yeah, well, Julia's a great supporter, and she represents silent mid-England, okay?
Here's one from Phil, who says, isn't it strange that Porky makes 3 predictions and gets 1/3 of them correct?
Well, she's referring to 1/3 of my heart, but I mean, of course, I've lived with that for so long now that I don't even refer to it anymore.
No, I know, yeah.
I don't tell people about it.
Nobody believes that either. Arthur says, bit of a Freudian slip there on Northern Ireland Brexit, Porky.
Well, he could have been heading for Ireland. That's what I meant. Because,
I don't think he was meaning to do either of those.
Well, the Republic of Ireland, of course, is still in Europe, so he might have been heading that way. Who knows?
Ian says this.
But that was a joke, by the way. It was a joke.
This man must be the opposite of Porky with his luck. Let's hope Porky doesn't put some kind of jinx on him.
Yeah, well, he'll put a jinx on him. But it's a remarkable story of survival. Most people don't survive at sea. They die of hypothermia or... I mean, Robert Maxwell, for instance, right? When he fell off his yacht or jumped off his yacht, we're not quite sure which one.
I don't think he died of hypothermia, though, did he?
He did, yeah, he did. He died of hypothermia because his body was found floating face up in the water, and he hadn't a sufficient amount of water in his lungs to have drowned.
Really?
And he died. I tell you who else tried to die of hypothermia.
Tried to die of hypothermia?
Yeah, tried to die of hypothermia.
Well, how can he try to die of hypothermia?
Well, listen to me. If you watch Broadchurch, did you watch Broadchurch?
Broadchurch is a fictional television show.
It doesn't matter. It's based on fact.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's fiction.
Yeah, but they're based on factual situations because the researchers who write these things have to be very specific.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the father of the little boy who was killed in the first Broadchurch episode, he climbed out of his boat in the sea and just lay in the sea and drifted off.
Yeah.
He was planning to die of hypothermia.
Was he?
People, by the way,
why didn't it work then?
Because he was found. Enough? He was found by a lifeboat. He was. Well, what happened was somebody in another passing boat saw the empty boat and thought, "Hang on, somebody's fallen out of that boat," and organised a search, and they found him.
Okay.
But I mean, for instance, the Native Americans of whom I spoke last week, in the in the 1 minute moan.
1 minute moan.
No.
People said that's the worst 1 minute moan I've ever heard.
A new book. What they used to do is they used to take their old people and just leave them in a forest to die of hypothermia. That was
hypothermia. Didn't they know they're supposed to put them in water?
What?
Didn't they know they're supposed to put them in water?
Put them in water?
Yeah, to die of hypothermia.
No, you don't have to, do you? Because if you put somebody in the middle of a forest and it's snowing and it's -4...
Why didn't the guy from Broadchurch do that instead of getting all the palaver, getting in a boat and falling off the overboard?
Well, because he would have had to then travel to North America in the winter and sit in a forest, you idiot. Because, down...
Well, you could have just gone to Northern Ireland.
Down where Broadchurch is, on the coast, they don't have forests full of snow in May.
They have forest. They could have gone to the New Forest. It's pretty cold down there in the middle of winter.
He wasn't anywhere near the New Forest, and anyway... you're being pathetic because you know full well it was all about he wanted to die where his son had died, okay?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, all I'm saying is if you wanted to die of hypothermia, there's lots of ways you could have done it.
You are an idiot.
Thank you very much indeed.
Did you see that great picture earlier this week to celebrate the 45th year release of The Godfather?
I did not.
Well, all the great stars, even James Caan, who a lot of people had forgotten about, and obviously Al Pacino.
Well, James Caan, of course, actually was one of the guys that became quite well connected with the mafia because, in fact, he was one of the guys that went and gave a character reference to one of the mafia chiefs in real life.
Really?
Who was actually on trial.
Really?
Yeah, he went down to Centre Street and turned up as a character reference for a genuine mobster.
Do you mean as a result of being in The Godfather?
Yeah, because the mafia loved it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But not everybody became friends with him, but he became very good friends with a couple of the real-life mafia guys.
That's right.
And when one of them was arrested and was standing trial for all sorts of horrible crimes, James Caan went on and gave evidence for him.
Marlon Brando, of course, who's dead.
Yes.
Robert De Niro was in the original
Robert De Niro
Godfather.
was in Godfather 2.
Yeah. Duval, Robert
Duval, yes.
And the Diane Keaton, who played
Michael Corleone's
wife. That's right, yeah.
That's right.
And also, what I didn't realise is the daughter of Francis Ford Coppola was in the film as the daughter.
She was one of the kids, wasn't she?
She was one of the kids, that's right, yeah. But anyway, look, the reason I mentioned all that...
She also went on to make Godfather 3, didn't she?
She did.
Which was pretty awful, by the way.
Well,
I've seen that.
That was the one when he had diabetes, didn't he? And he asked for orange and all that kind of stuff. No, it didn't work. Yeah. The famous line in that one was, every time I try to get out, they try to suck me back in.
That's right.
Yeah. Al Pacino. But anyway, the reason I mentioned all that is because I was looking at a colleague of mine from the Thunder at the Times, Melanie Phillips, assessing the whole trilogy of The Godfather and the effect it's had on our lives. And she's come to the conclusion, and Melanie Phillips is a highly intelligent, analytical, political commentator, really, The Times. She says The Godfather was not a gangster movie. It was a fantastic morality tale about how families should stick together.
Possibly so.
She says, you think this was a gangster movie? On the contrary. Although such criticism has undeniable force, it is ultimately misplaced.
Yeah.
The film is not, in essence, a gangster movie. It is an epic family tragedy of the highest order.
Yeah.
It's precisely because it puts loving family life on a pedestal that its deepest message is so devastating.
Yes.
She says the heart of the story is the way the Godfather's son, Michael Corleone, is transformed from a war hero who has nothing to do with the family crime business into a mafia mobster.
Yeah.
The die is cast when he decides to avenge the near murder of his father. And it goes on to say the message, however, is even broader than this. It tells us that everyone can be bought, that the line between business deals and extortion is thin to non-existent, that corruption is endemic in the whole of American society, and therefore, why would you criticise any family for actually tapping into what is, a broad theme of American life?
This is why many of these shows and many of these films and TV series are brilliant, because it's not so much about whether or not they're gangsters and whether they're doing something that's against the law.
Yes.
It's about the way that they are honourable in many ways where we, as supposedly, law-abiding citizens, are not honourable at all.
Yeah.
It's a bit like The Wire. The Wire is this incredible TV show which has got a couple of British guys in it as well, all set in Baltimore.
Based in Baltimore,
All set in Baltimore, and it's all about the drug business in Baltimore and the politics of Baltimore.
Yeah.
And it was written by a former sort of police beat reporter on the Baltimore paper, the Baltimore Sun.
Yes.
And what you get from the show is that the criminals are actually at least as honourable as the politicians are.
Yeah,
and in fact, in many ways, the politicians are more like the criminals.
Yeah.
And there's more of a code of honour and a code of sort of loyalty amongst the criminal fraternity than there is amongst those who are supposedly law-abiding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Melanie, who's obviously a big fan of these films, she says...
It's an unusual sort of thing for her to get into, isn't it?
I don't know, she likes the films. She says there's honour and also scruple, while Godfather the Elder, Vito Corleone, that was Marlon Brando, wasn't it?
It was.
Deems gambling to be acceptable because it raises big profits. He high-mindedly refuses to let his family get involved in drugs.
That's right.
We'll show no innocent victims of the crime family's protection rackets. The police are either useless or very corrupt.
That's right.
The villains are those who betray these murderers' own code of ethics.
Yeah.
The Godfather himself is the only arbiter of justice. The film can thus be considered an audacious inversion of morality and an apologia for evil.
Well, it's a bit like
brilliant.
In Goodfellas, which has a similar sort of code of conduct for the people who are, the bad guys, if you like.
Yeah.
And at one point, Henry Hill's kind of narrating the story, and he says, that's what the cops never got about the mob, was that it was like the FBI for wise guys. Because they couldn't go to the police to get protection, so they had to protect themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they had to have this code of conduct. And certain people were made, and other people were allowed to then deal with them if they were made.
Yes.
But if you weren't made, you couldn't attack them.
Absolutely
and they
right.
were somehow protected.
Fascinating
stuff. I mean, that's why these stories are so brilliant.
Yeah, they are.
And they can go for years and years and years. And you can. I mean, I could watch the first Godfather film tonight.
Yes.
And still enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you as well.
Now,
totally agree.
Scottish Bull says this. Mark the Taxi says, don't think Zidane ever won the European Cup with Juve. And Gio Hara says, I think Tommy Smith was referring to the 1998 Champions League final where Zidane played for Juve against Real. Because he was saying that he was pretty sure that Zinedine Zidane had played against Real Madrid for Juventus at one point.
Yeah, but they got beaten, didn't they?
I think
he only ever won a Champions League medal with Real, didn't he?
I think that's right. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, there's a lot of facts and figures to be bandied around at this time of the year when you come to the end of the season. And everybody's telling you how great it is. The one main fact is that Real Madrid could become, and I think will become, first team to retain the Champions League.
See, I think there might be a bit of a shock in store for him. I just think this Juventus team is very, very good.
Well,
so that's my. You're always accusing me of sitting on the fence.
Yes.
That is my prediction.
That's your prediction, right?
So don't forget that.
Right now, then, you tried to talk to me the other night, talking about film stars and Godfather and all that, about Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what I was telling you, I think, about Johnny Depp was that he's in the midst of some big court case, isn't he, at the moment?
Well, he also seems to be in the midst of a midlife crisis, to be honest, because it's extraordinary. And the court case is because he has a claim, he says, against his people who manage his money.
That's right.
And that a lot of it's gone missing.
Yeah.
And that he spends something like, $75 million on 14 properties around the world, including a chain of islands in the Bahamas.
Very nice, too.
Yeah,
Does he not say that these people have embezzled a lot of money from him?
Well, it often happens, doesn't it? You hear about court cases in which... I remember, I think Sting was involved in a court case a few years back, in which, there was some court case about costs and all that. And it always comes out that... with these great rock stars and these film stars who earn tens of millions of pounds, sometimes didn't realise that £7 million had gone missing from their accounts.
Well, I suppose
because they've got so much of it.
But also they employ other people to take care of all that, don't they?
Yeah. But the amazing thing here about the latest revelation about Johnny Depp is that according to transcripts of papers involved in this court case, Johnny Depp has never bothered to learn his scripts. Since he's become a big film star, and has been fed his lines for years through an earpiece, a claim from his former manager.
Yeah.
What he did is he employed some bloke who was, sort of a sound technician genius, and this guy devised a system to be able to...
Just feed him his lines.
So he didn't ever have to learn them himself. Yeah. He said this guy was paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and was retained on a permanent basis. Surprising
in a way that more people don't do that, isn't it? Maybe it's common practice.
Yeah, I suppose so. But he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to employ a full-time sound engineer who was used for years to feed him lines during film production. Depp insisted that the sound engineer be kept on a yearly retainer so that he no longer had to go through the boring ritual of memorising lines.
Yeah, bizarre. Very bizarre. I mean, the other reason we were talking about Johnny Depp the other day was because I did this on... there was a thing on Facebook that says, which highly paid celebrity do you look like, right?
Yeah.
And it found out that I look like Johnny Depp. No,
you don't look anything like Johnny Depp.
Well, that's what it changes into, look.
You look more like Jack Nicholson. As it changes from you to...
changes to Johnny Depp.
Yeah, rubbish. That's utter nonsense.
Well, I wouldn't want to put you into it because it breaks it.
If we were doing a radio show and we had an earpiece in and somebody was feeding us our lines...
We are doing a radio show.
Yeah, but
and we do have an earpiece.
Yeah, but...
And somebody does feed us lines.
No, they don't. They don't tell me what to say to you and they don't tell you what to say to me.
No.
But they tell Johnny Depp what to say...
They tell you when it's time to break.
Hang on, shut up for a minute. They tell Johnny Depp what to say to the camera.
Yes.
Surely there'd be a tenth of a second delay while Johnny Depp is listening to what the guy in his ears telling him to say and him actually saying it.
Well, maybe they do that thing where they can be very good. Like if you're on TV, you know how people on television
are told what to say all the time.
Yeah. And if you get into it in a way which is actually, as they describe it, better than sex, you know exactly when to feed the line, and then the person then says it, and it sounds very natural.
Yeah, but I mean, to go through a whole film, I find that astonishing. Yeah. I really do. Because also...
But they don't shoot a whole film in one go, do they?
No, they don't. They don't. But what I'm saying is, surely the delivery of a line has to go with the emotion that you're supposed to be expressing from having read the script and knowing what's coming next.
Sure.
So how does all that work?
But he knows all that. It's just so that he doesn't get the actual words wrong. I mean, it's a bit like you wanting to make sure you write down the name of the person who's reading the news.
Yeah.
In case you forget. You know there's somebody coming in to read the news. You know what's going to happen. You know when it's going to happen. But if you don't have their name, you're going to look like an idiot.
No, I never look like an idiot.
No, never.
No.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Matt says this. Doesn't Porky know all the crooks hang around on Hooky Street?
No, they don't actually. But no, look,
Hooky Street.
Hooky Street.
Yeah.
Well, it's the line in Only Fools and Horses, isn't it?
Right. You see,
down in Hooky Street.
Well, remember when we talked about Fools and Horses and Only Fools, and how my knowledge of it is not that great because I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Here's another one from Peter who says, drunk loudmouth bum stumbles around train stations looking for the underworld. Sounds like an extremely crap Nick Cage film.
Well, I know for instance, right, that if I wanted to find a villain now and I needed help from the criminal fraternity, I'd go to a place called East Street.
East Street?
Yeah, in Wandsworth.
Okay.
No, not Wandsworth. Where is it?
You mean Whitechapel?
No, I don't even mean Whitechapel. Wool something. It's down past the Elephant and Castle.
Oh, yeah.
Where's that?
You mean Walworth Road?
Walworth Road. There, Walworth
that's
Road.
where the police station is down there.
Yeah, it is, actually. It's funny enough.
You'd probably find a few crooks coming out of the police station.
Yeah, you would, yeah. Well, there's a big criminal fraternity around there. There's a place called East Street where they have a market, and I'm told if you ever want to sort anything out, just get down to East Street.
Sort anything out?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
Well, hire somebody to beat somebody up or something like that. Not that I would do.
Why would you know how to do that?
Well, I wouldn't.
Have you ever made any inquiries in that direction?
No, definitely not.
Well, who told you that was the place to go?
Well, somebody just told me.
It just came up in conversation?
Yeah, it just sort of came up. I mean, remember...
So when you said to this person, as it came up in conversation, why are you telling me about this without me actually prompting you?
Exactly.
Why on earth would you think that I would ever want to have somebody beaten up?
Just an interesting conversation.
Really?
Please remember that our current Foreign Secretary, Boris Johnson, was once allegedly involved in a conversation with an old Eton colleague about, meting out sort of summary justice to people.
Although it was never proven to be
Never proven, and as I say, it's an allegation, but it's been repeated several times.
It has.
But I don't believe it.
No.
So, there's nothing to worry about.
No, that's good.
No, what I was going to say is that I'm quite surprised because people would regard you as quite worldly, quite, and, in mean streets of New York was your patch for 10 years, and yet you profess this total ignorance and total inability to make contact with the criminal fraternity if necessary.
Well, why do you think I'm doing that?
Well, I think you're trying to portray yourself as whiter than white.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you that I don't know where the criminals are, okay?
But you're not. What you're saying is I wouldn't know where to find them if I had to.
I don't think I would, no, because I don't think there's a place that you go.
Hey?
I don't think there's a place that you go. You don't just go somewhere and find criminals.
Look, a situation could arise, say, for instance, this is totally hypothetical, okay?
I mean, you've obviously done some research into this, as
None at all.
Many of your situations sort of require, because you may need, from time to time,
not at all,
for people to carry out criminal acts on your behalf.
Hypothetically, totally hypothetically, right? Yeah. And I know you'd never get involved in a situation like this, but a member of your family is having a hard time from somebody who is being a bully and a nuisance to them.
Yes.
You would like them frightened off. So then you would have to go and contact the sort of people who do that for a living.
I see.
Now, you're telling me you couldn't find those people?
No, I don't think so.
Of course you could.
Well, I could probably ask you, I suppose.
Well, no,
Since you seem to be the expert.
No, it's not that. It's not that. I mean, you know you could because you've done all sorts of things in your journalistic life and found much more difficult people than petty criminals who go around beating other people up.
Certainly, as a journalist, you do know where there are certain things that can be made available.
I mean, for instance...
But that doesn't mean that you have to then tell everybody on the radio all about it.
Well, I'm not telling everyone on the radio.
You're basically telling everyone that you know where to go to get somebody beaten up.
No, I don't.
That's what you said.
What I'm saying is, if anybody ever asked me for advice on where to go, I would be able to help their thinking process.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you're saying that you know where to go.
I mean, for instance, we still know one or two people who work in journalism who have extremely good contacts, not only with the police forces of the world, because that's their job as a crime reporter, but also a lot of villains of the world.
Yeah.
And, we would seek advice there as well.
Sure.
No, old Buster Edwards, I mean, what happened was he did his porridge as a great train robber, and when he came out, he had this flower stall at the back of Waterloo Station.
Yes.
So if you and I were leaving the TalkSport studios here, and we walked through those little narrow streets down Rupel Street...
Yeah, where there's, by the way, some kind of campaign going on, isn't there, to save Rupel Street?
Yeah, well...
Have you seen that?
Yeah, there's a language school there, which looks like a very old-fashioned 1920s primary school.
It does a bit. It's got a sort of bit of a very mini quadrangle-y type look.
Quadrangle thing and an iron fence at the front. And I don't think it's a very good-looking building. Anyway, I've seen some plans to redevelop that into a far more impressive, in my view, block.
Yeah.
Where the front of it, architecturally, is like a load of sort of X's.
Yeah, or sort of diamond shapes.
Diamond shapes and all that kind of stuff. It looks much more impressive. Yeah. But as you walk up and down Rupel Street, which, by the way, to everybody concerned, is a very old street in London, built to house railway workers from Waterloo Station in the 18 and 1900s, right? But those cottages that they lived in are now worth £1 million apiece because it's a very trendy road. And all the people living there now say, it's going to ruin our street. It's not. It's going to improve it.
Well, I think it's going to make it look better, yeah.
Do you know all that lot as well have all got these signs in the windows saying, no to the Garden Bridge?
Well, I mean, at one point, no to the Garden Bridge. At one point, I had a tweet sent to me by the campaign to save Ribble Street. I think people realise that we occasionally go down there.
Yes.
Because there's a couple of, hostelries in that neck of the woods, which we like to, visit from time to time. Yes. But I don't know whether they expected us to kind of endorse their campaign.
I don't know.
Or not. They didn't ask.
But
we haven't done it.
Didn't ask at all. So if you went down that route to Waterloo Station, in the last bit of the road opposite the, is it the British Forces Club or something on your left?
I'm not sure.
There's those high steps that go up to
yes, the British Legion or something.
British Legion, right. Yeah. On your right, there's a pub, right?
There's another pub, yes.
Right, big pub on the corner.
Yeah.
Now then, in the days when Buster used to run his flower stall, he would go over there for an hour.
What, into that pub?
Into that pub at lunchtime.
It's the Wellington, isn't it, funnily enough?
Well, I think it is the Wellington. I think it's Wellington.
We may come up in the quiz.
Yeah, indeed. And if you ever wanted to know anything, somebody would say out the side of their mouth at Buster's flower stall, right,
it all sounds a bit cloak and dagger.
No, they'd say, go and see Buster, mate. Where is he? He's out at a pub,
Yeah.
So you go over the pub and you find Buster in the corner, sipping half a bitter or something like that, with a few of his mates, and
what, I mean, from the criminal fraternity?
From the criminal fraternity.
I see.
And Buster would either help you or he wouldn't, depending on what the nature of the inquiry was.
Yeah.
But
there's a great one here from William. He says, Porky's just saved the special branch a lot of work. All they have to do now is keep Porky under surveillance. He'll lead them to everyone they want to find.
No, I do not mix with the criminal fraternity. What I'm saying is
it's no surprise to people listening to this show that you, in your history of criminal acts that you've committed since childhood,
utter rubbish,
you would still be in touch with some of these characters.
No. Honestly, that's not what I'm saying at all. It's just, you've provoked me by, putting on this air of stupidity about, how you contact people in the world.
It's not about stupidity. It's about, things that you say on the radio and things that you don't say on the radio.
Well, I'm sorry, but I've not said anything to incriminate myself in any way
not
at all.
Not at all, no.
I've merely pointed out that, the ability to find those in society with whom you do not normally mix should not be beyond you.
Yes, indeed.
Okay?
Craig says this, Porky's right. My florist can get anything you want. Tulips, roses, violets... Everything you like.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Now, here's one for you, because do you know when we appeared on Sky TV not that long ago, people were making remarks about the fact that we both wore black suits.
Indeed.
Well, according to what I can only regard as a sort of upmarket fashion journal, as you would call it, black suits are making a comeback this summer.
Really?
So how about that? So
I've just bought a new black suit.
Well, there you are. Black used to be reserved for funerals, formal evening wear, or perhaps a board meeting. Apparently now they are the thing to wear for when you're out and about in the summer.
Well, I've been wearing black suits for years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I wear is black suits. I don't have any other suits.
That's not true.
No, it is
You've
true.
got a blue suit.
No, I haven't.
You have?
I've got a blue jacket. I've not got a blue suit.
Well, I've seen you in a blue suit. I'm sure I have. We've gone to a football match together.
I can assure you haven't.
Really?
All my suits are black,
Okay.
Yeah.
Which black suit did you buy?
Bought a very expensive one.
From where? Is it from the Italian shop?
It's from an Italian outlet inside Debenhams.
So it's a Debenhams suit?
No, it's not Debenhams suit.
Well, what's the make?
Make?
What's the label say?
Label?
Yeah.
Something like Francisciona.
It's not a knockoff from one of your criminal mates. I'll just bring the just bring the van round.
No. It says Francisciona or something like that. Yeah, something like that. It's some Italian fashion house anyway.
It's not Ferragamo.
Eh?
Not Ferragamo, is it?
Oh, I don't know. It might be.
It won't be that.
Who sell their suits in
around the back of that scene in Goodfellas. Just go down there.
No.
Down there. We've got some new coats.
This is
down there.
This is what is called
just around there.
A concession inside Debenhams, which is one of the most respectable stores in the country.
Really?
Yes. Cuba.
There's that piece of music you were referring to a little bit earlier. Cuba.
Cuba.
Great piece of music.
Yeah.
That, of course, means that the Facebook Live section is upon us.
Right.
You can now watch the show as it unfolds.
Yes.
Because it is Porky quiz time, of course.
Right.
Now, any second now, I will be in receipt of the questions.
Yeah.
Mr. David Levine has just handed me
the
Porky quiz
That's just
envelope.
the first set of questions, is
well,
it?
as you can see, because since you make these allegations, which are totally unfounded, I'm going to open the envelope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you that inside there is only one. Yeah. Count them. One set of questions.
Oh,
okay?
Right. Okay.
Would you like to check the envelope to see if there's another set?
No.
Oh
no, you're not that daft. No, there'll be a second set will be underneath the table or something.
Well, would you want to come and have a look?
No, I don't. No.
Because I think it's unfair for you to completely make these unfounded allegations.
I think we should just get on with it.
Which some people complain about.
Your blabbering, that's what the audience tune in for. That's what the audience focus in for. They want to see, they want to see the action.
Okay.
So do I.
All right, fine. Well, you can see the action on Facebook Live. I will send you a tweet.
Live.
A tweet connecting you to it as well. But
do you think people know how to access that?
They should be. If they're on Facebook, they can get it. Okay. And if they're not on Facebook, they'll be able to get it through Twitter.
Okay.
Which is what I will do very shortly.
Okay, come on, let's roll.
Now, if you get one right, you will hear this sound. If you get one wrong, you will hear this sound.
Ha venido a crear un problema.
Yeah, they don't sound very different, actually. So.
Well, I mean, they're both Cuban,
okay.
I suppose you might say.
Okay.
Both Castro. Question number 1.
Yes.
Who is currently Vice President of Cuba?
Vice President of Cuba?
Yes.
I mean, that's a ridiculous question, I have to say, from the start.
Well, how's it ridiculous?
Well, we all know who the President of Cuba is. It's Raul, okay? Raul Castro, who was Fidel's brother, because Fidel died last year.
That's not the question, though.
Yeah, but I mean, there isn't a Vice President of Cuba. There never has been.
There's never been a Vice President of Cuba.
It's an absolute dictatorship. Raul Castro is both President, Vice President. He is.
I thought you said there wasn't a Vice President.
He is, and he's also the Trade Minister. He's Chancellor and Treasurer. So the answer is there is not a what would you say, Vice
President of Cuba.
There's no Vice President of Cuba.
Incorrect.
No.
His name is Miguel Diaz-Canel.
Oh, yeah? Who says that?
He is the Vice President of Cuba.
Oh, yeah? Listed where?
Listed in any number of articles that you may wish to find.
I say garbage.
OK, question number 2.
Yeah.
Before the arrival of the Spanish in the 15th century, Cuba was inhabited by 3 American Indian tribes.
Yes.
Could you name one of them and get the point?
The 3 American tribes were the Nonia, the Terranina, and the third one was the... Let me just think now. I think they had a Haitian influence, because Haiti's around there as well. I think it was the Akanama. They were the 3.
Incorrect.
No.
You could have had the Taino.
Yeah, I said that.
Guanajiatabi, or the Siboney people.
I said the Taino.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did, definitely.
You did not say Taino.
I did.
Would you like to have it played back?
My interpretation, of the...
Well, the Taino were also known by another name.
Yes.
Yeah? Do you want to have another go at that?
I got that.
Well, which was the name you said?
The Nanino.
Nanino, no. It was the Arawak. So that's absolutely wrong. Incorrect.
Ridiculous
question. Number 3.
That's 600 years old, that question.
Well, it's about the history of Cuba, which is what you said you wanted.
Cuba is famous in the modern age for all the things that Cuba's been, like the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Well, wait and see whether there's
a revolution.
Well, wait and see whether there's a question on that.
Che Guevara and all that,
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you've been studying?
I've been studying everything about Cuba, but the relevance of the tribes who were there before it was even called Cuba. I mean, look, I don't think that question's relevant.
Well,
it wasn't known as Cuba.
Well, it doesn't matter whether
it wasn't
you think
known as Cuba, and it wasn't known as Cuba until Columbus arrived. So that's not Cuba.
Okay. Question number 3. Which James Bond film starring Halle Berry was filmed in Cuba on the island of Isla de los Órganos?
Isla de los Órganos is the second island of Cuba. And Halle Berry was in the James Bond film in an orange bikini, by the way, and very
famous scene. That.
Very short black hair, and I think it was Pierce Brosnan was James Bond, okay, and they were roaring around the island, and smashed up all those 1950s cars, and it was I believe it was Definitely. Now, James Bond, you say? James Bond.
I see your eyes moving around.
No. It was the...
Looking down now.
No.
People will see this, you know. You're on camera.
No.
You are actually on camera.
I think it was...
Yeah.
The World Is Not Enough.
Incorrect.
No!
Ha venido a creare un problema.
It was Die Another Day.
Die Another Day.
Question number 4.
See, that's not really relevant to Cuba anyway. Yeah,
Why not?
Go on.
Question number 4. Yeah. When was the 10 Years' War?
The 10 Years' War?
Yes.
10 Years' War?
It lasted for 10 years, if that's any help to you.
What do you mean, when was the 10 Years' War?
When was the 10 Years' War? It's part of Cuban history.
Well, there's not really a 10 Years' War. I mean, the point is...
Well, there was a 10 Years' War.
Well, look, Castro took over in 1959. They weren't fighting 10 years before that because he got locked up in between time. But, I will have to say... Now, wait a minute. Batista took over in 1952. I reckon the 10 Years' War took place from 1942 to 1952.
Incorrect.
No!
It was from 1868 to 1878, in fact.
There wasn't a war going on then?
Yeah, it was. It was the 10 Years' War.
Who was fighting who?
I don't know. I've just got the question and the answer.
You don't know. There's a war going on. You don't know who was fighting it.
All I've got here is a question and answer.
A ridiculous question and no answer.
Question number 5.
Invalid question.
Question number 5.
Yeah.
Have a listen to this.
A little bit of Monica in my life, a little bit of Erica by my side.
Feel free to dance to this. Cuban music.
A little bit of Tina's what I see. A little bit of Sandra in the sun. A little bit of Mary all night long.
Can you tell me who the artist is?
A little bit of you makes me your man.
All right, I can't think with that racket, please. Just cut it out.
Oh, you like it? I like that song.
I reckon it's the same guy who sang Uber La Liva La Loca.
Uber La Liva La Loca.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
I know who you mean. I don't think you got the title quite right.
Yeah. And I think his first name's Ricky. Okay. Thinking aloud. I'm just thinking aloud.
I need both names. I will need both names.
Ricky.
I have to hurry you.
I think his name is Ricky Martin.
Incorrect.
No.
Ha venido a creare un problema.
It's Lou Bega.
Who?
Lou Bega.
Who's Lou Bega?
He's the singer of Mambo No. 5.
Mambo No. 5?
That's that song. It's a very famous Cuban song.
Rubbish. Nobody's ever heard of that before.
Question number 6.
Garbage.
I'm sorry to tell you, you got none out of 5 so far.
Well, it's not a surprise, is it, the quality of the questions?
Question number 6.
Yeah.
Who wrote The Double Life of Fidel Castro, My 17 Years as a Personal Bodyguard to El Líder Máximo?
What?
There's a very famous book about Castro.
Oh, yeah, very famous. Yeah, world number 1 bestseller.
It was, actually.
No,
it was written by his personal bodyguard, and it gave a great insight into what Castro's life was like.
Nobody's ever read that book.
They have?
No, they haven't.
More people have read it than read Looney Tunes.
Okay, and you want to know who the personal guard was?
I just want his name.
It was...
Both names. 2 names.
It was, thinking aloud here, the personal bodyguard to Fidel Castro was... Basil Baruna.
It wasn't Basil Baruna. It's a good name, though. It was Juan Sanchez.
Ha venido a creare un problema.
He had several names.
Yeah,
that was another stupid question.
No, you should be able to get this next one, right? It's a geography question.
Yeah.
How far is it from Havana to Miami?
Havana to Miami?
Yeah. I'll give you 5% either way.
Do you mean how far is it from Cuba to Miami?
No, I mean from Havana to Miami.
Well, Havana is on the south side of Cuba.
Sure.
And do you mean as the crow flies?
As the crow flies.
As the crow flies. Yes. As the crow flies.
Not if you were going in a sort of
boat.
Old Chevrolet that was made into a boat.
Or okay. As the crow flies.
Yeah.
It is 97 miles.
Incorrect.
No.
Ha venido a creare un problema.
It's not.
It's 228 miles.
Rubbish.
It's 228 miles.
The nearest stretch of water is 97 miles.
Yeah, but that's not where Miami is it? I didn't say Florida. I said Miami.
Oh, you idiot.
Well, you idiot.
To the Florida Keys, it's 97 miles.
Well, I didn't say to the Florida Keys.
Well, that's pathetic.
I said to Miami.
Pathetic.
That's none out of 7.
Well, I'm not surprised. The quality of the questions is... I'm so glad that we're recording this because people will now see how I get stitched up.
Because normally speaking, it's only recorded for a podcast.
I get stitched up. Right, keep going.
Question number 8. Well, they can see your eyes moving as well.
My eyes aren't moving anywhere,
moving
except
all over
in
the place.
despair.
What is the name of the Jack Nicholson character in A Few Good Men charged with running Guantanamo Bay?
That's another stupid question.
What?
That's not about Cuba. That's about a film.
Well, where's Guantanamo Bay?
Well, Guantanamo Bay is in Cuba.
Thank you.
But the film is a film. It's fictitious. That's nothing to do with Cuban history.
It's about Cuba.
It's not.
Well, you're not very good at Cuban history. You haven't got anything right yet.
I know everything about Cuban history. I know about the Bay of Pigs. You haven't asked me about that.
Next question's about the Bay of Pigs.
Right. Well, the answer to this one is... What's the question again?
What's the name of the Jack Nicholson character in A Few Good Men? The guy who says, you need me on that wall.
You can't handle the truth.
That's the guy. What's his name?
Lopez.
No, he's an American. He's
an
American. He's Colonel Nathan Jessup.
Yeah, rubbish.
Right, question number 9. Who was the director of the CIA during the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961?
Who was the director of the CIA?
Yeah.
CIA. Well, President John F. Kennedy was the president, and Robert Kennedy was Justice Minister.
Was he?
Yeah. And the CIA director was, I believe it could have been, but it probably wasn't, because I'm thinking of the time scale. I think it was...
Yes.
I think it was... George Bush.
No, it was, in fact, a man called Alan Dulles.
Ha venido a crear un problema.
The longest-serving CIA director, funnily enough, which I was surprised you didn't know.
They must have named the airport after him in Washington, D.C.
Maybe they did, actually. They may have a point. It's the same spelling.
Yeah.
Right, finally, now, question number 10. This is on Facebook Live, by the way. If you're not watching it, you should watch it, because Porky is about to possibly break all records and get 0.
Pathetic questions.
How many medals did Cuba win in the 2016 Olympics?
2016?
Yes.
Well, look, hang on. Listen, their greatest Olympic exponent was Teofilio, their boxer.
Who?
Their boxer. He won 3 gold medals in 72, 76 and 80.
Was he in the 2016 Olympics?
So why haven't you asked me about him?
Well, was he in the 2016 Olympics?
Why didn't you ask me about him?
Well, it's not written down here.
Why didn't you ask me about Juan Torina, who won 2 Olympic golds in 76 in Montreal, 400 and 800 metres.
Yeah.
So I know about the heavyweight boxing champions. I know
Didn't you think to look and see how many they won in last year?
But it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Why?
Because they're not a major power. They didn't win anything gold.
They didn't win anything gold?
No.
Is that your answer?
What?
Is that your answer?
You haven't asked me that. You've asked me how many medals they won.
How many medals did they win?
Medals.
Medals in total, yes.
Gold, bronze and silver.
Exactly right.
They won 2.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Incorrect.
No!
Ha venido a crear un problema.
How many did they win?
They won 11. They won 5 golds, 2 silver and 4 bronze. So I'm sorry to say, Porky, that you have surpassed yourself here with 0 out of 10.
Well, the audience can tell the poverty nature of the questions. They're ridiculous.
They were very good
You didn't
questions.
ask me about the Bay of Pigs.
I did.
You did
I asked
not.
you who the CIA director was.
That irrelevant.
Oh, he was only the guy in charge.
You didn't ask me about the Cuban Missile Crisis, Khrushchev.
Khrushchev's not about Cuba, is it? It's about Russia.
And he was sending missiles to Cuba.
Yeah.
You didn't ask me about, all the things that have happened. You didn't ask me about Fidel Castro. You didn't ask me about Che Guevara. What about...
He's not from Cuba.
Che Guevara was the most famous Cuban exile.
He wasn't Cuban.
It doesn't matter. He conquered Cuba with Fidel Castro.
But he wasn't a Cuban.
Why didn't you ask me a journalistic question like who took the famous picture of Che Guevara?
What do you mean?
Albert Korma, the famous photographer, took that picture.
Well,
I know so much about Cuba. He didn't ask me anything I know about.
You don't even know how far it is from Miami.
I knew exactly how it was. How far? It's 97 miles.
No, it's not. Incorrect.
It's rubbish questions.
Anyway, 0 out of 10. It's been on Facebook Live. It will remain on Facebook Live
Our followers will be my judge. Our followers will be my saviour.
Yes, we shall see. That was the...